Rude. Hello, I'm Lindsay. Welcome back. Oh, coffee, sweet nectar of the gods. So I am back with part 4 and the final part of my top 40 albums of 2022. And today I'll be running through number 10 all the way up to my most favourite album of the year. Now, for those of you who tuned in to the live stream, I think it was Thursday that we did that, so it was a couple of days ago now, on the This Day Metal YouTube channel. Thank you so much. It was a lot of fun. We do these live streams for our top 10 every year, so no doubt we will be back again next year. So for those of you who watched it and interacted with us and had a laugh and things like that, thank you so much. It's very much appreciated. So without any further delay, I am just going to fire through my top 10 albums of 2022. So coming in at number 10, this album is a bit of a curveball for my list, and for those of you who do follow me online, there is absolutely no secret about the fact that this band are my all-time favourite band. I absolutely adore this band, and I have done for about 20 odd years of my life. But coming in at number 10, released back in October via Nuclear Blast Records, it's Fear Factory, Recoded, Adapt or Die. Now, the reason I've called this album a curveball is because it's a remix album from the last studio album that they released last year, Aggression Continuum, which just so happened to be my number 1 album of the year last year. And this album is just absolutely phenomenal. I adored this album. The honorary 5th member of Fear Factory, Rhys Fulber, made his return and remixed 4 of the tracks on the album. Newcomer DJ Zardonic also remixed 4 tracks on the album. Blush Response, Rob G, amongst others, have also contributed on the album as well. I had the absolute pleasure of interviewing Dino Cazares of Fear Factory regarding the remix album, along with DJ Zardonic, Rob G, Blush Response and Rhys Fulber. And if you want to check out those interviews, you can head over to the This Day in Metal YouTube channel to check those out. Now, this remix album was the first remix album that has been released since 1997's remanufacture, so that's a good 25 years in between the two. And my favourite tracks off the album are I Am the Night Rider, which is the remix version of Fuel Injected Suicide Machine, and that was remixed by DJ Zardonic. And Empire's Fall, which was the remixed version of Collapse, done by Tyrants of Death. So yeah, coming in at number 10 was Fear Factory's Recoded, Adapt or Die remix album. So coming in at number 9, I've kind of ventured into the Finnish symphonic melodic death metal kind of territory. This was released back in August via Napalm Records, and that's Brymir, Voices in the Sky. Now this record is very grand, it's very epic, it's very sprawling, really atmospheric. It has a lot of folk and pagan kind of vibes to it, and it's just really orchestral and really theatrical. And it's no surprise that I would absolutely adore this, because the more theatrical the music, the better. The contrast between the clean and guttural vocals really help this record flow, and it has some truly stunning guitar solos and thundering blast beats. Favourite tracks of this album are Landfall, Far From Home and Herald of Aegir. So yeah, coming in at number 9 was Brymir, Voices in the Sky. So coming in at number 8 is a band that I've loved for many, many years, and we're venturing into the black/death metal kind of genre now. They're primarily known for black metal, but they have kind of dabbled in a little bit of death metal recently to kind of blend it into their black metal sound. But this album was released back in September via Nuclear Blast Records, and that's Behemoth. This album, because I can't pronounce that. If anybody watched me on the live stream, I completely butchered the pronunciation of this. I'm just going to put it here. I'm not even going to try, because yeah, the words, they just don't work. They just don't. So Behemoth don't really need any further explanation, and I found that every single time they release a record, it gets catchier and catchier. It still maintains that dark black metal sound, but they do incorporate a lot of catchy hooks and really stomping melodic beats sometimes. If you haven't already done so, you need to go onto YouTube and check out their live performance atop the Palace of Culture in Poland, where they performed 4 of the tracks of the album. It's an absolutely stunning performance. Favourite tracks of this album are definitely The Deathless Sun, Off to War and Once Upon a Pale Horse. So yeah, coming in at number 8, I have Behemoth. This one. I'm not even going to try. Nope, I'll just butcher it, I'm not even going to try. So next up for number 7, I have an album that was released way back in February via Atomic Fire. And these guys have been the standard bearers of Nordic melodic death metal for absolutely years, and that's Amorphis Halo. You know, this record is ridiculously catchy, it's heavy, it's uplifting, it's got that great contrast again between the clean and guttural vocals, and it's really layered and really melodic and absolutely stunning. Favourite tracks off this album are The Moon and A New Land. So yeah, coming in at number 7, I have Amorphis Halo. Next up for number 6, I'm kind of following the same kind of theme for the Scandinavian Nordic melodic death metal scene. And this record was released via Nuclear Blast back in August, and it comprises of current members of Dark Tranquillity and ex-members of In Flames. It's kind of like a Gothenburg scene melodic death metal supergroup that have kind of been mashed together, and that's the Halo Effect, Days of the Lost. And again, this is a very melodic album, but it has the contrast between the guttural and the clean vocals, but more so guttural than anything else. The clean vocals only make an appearance every now and again. It's really catchy, it's really melodic, it's really layered again, it's quite sprawling. It alternates between, you know, more fast-paced songs and more of your mid-tempo stomping kind of beats. And one of the tracks that just so happens to be one of my favourites, called Last of Our Kind, actually features guest vocals from Trivium's Matt Heafy. Other favourite tracks off this album are In Broken Trust and Gateways. So yeah, coming in at number 6, I have The Halo Effect, Days of the Lost. Number 5, I'm kicking it up a notch a little bit and I'm venturing into the technical death metal kind of scene. This record was released way back in February via Metal Blade Records, and that's Allegion Damnum. Now, I had the absolute pleasure of interviewing Greg, the guitarist for Allegion, and he confirmed to me exactly how to pronounce the band's name. And I found that this record kind of ventured into the death metal kind of side of things rather than the technical prog kind of side of things, at least compared to previous records that they've released. There are still heavy elements of tech and prog in the record, but it definitely does focus more on the death metal side of things. And Riley's vocals are absolutely stunning on this record, incredibly brutal but incredibly stunning at the same time. Favourite tracks off the album are Of Beasts and Worms, which is one of my favourite tracks of the entire year, Into Embers, Vermin and Called Home. So yeah, coming in at number 5, I have Allegion Damnum. Now, coming in at number 4, for those of you who follow me on Metal Twitter, there's absolutely no surprise that I absolutely adore this band. I've not made a secret of that whatsoever, and I constantly sing their praises at any given moment. But I think this one comes as a bit of a surprise, because I think a lot of people who follow me on Twitter would have expected this to be my number 1 album of the year. But it was released back in March via Loma Vista Recordings, and that's Ghost Impera. They are the Marmite of the metal scene. They do divide the metal scene completely. You either love them or you loathe them. There doesn't seem to be any middle ground when it comes to this band. Whether you describe them as doom metal, party doom, doom rock, I've seen people describe them as ABBA metal. This record in particular has some very strong 80s stadium rock kind of vibes, and I think that's exactly what it was written for. If you think of Rush, but with the gothic theatrics, and that's basically what this record is. Favourite tracks of this album are Call Me Little Sunshine, Spillways, Watcher in the Sky and Griffwood. So yeah, coming in at number 4, I have Ghost Impera. Ooh, top 3 now! Ooh. So coming in at number 3, I have a band that I have loved since I was a teenager. They were at the very first metal gig that I ever went to when they were supporting Slayer. And one of their albums that was released, I think it was in 2004, is one of my all-time favourite top 10 albums of all time. Released back in October via Nuclear Blast Records, and that's Lamb of God, Omens. Randy Blythe is pretty angry in this record. I mean, he sounds angry most of the time anyway, but he's particularly angry in this record. And personally speaking, in my humble opinion, I do believe that this is the best record that they've released since Ashes of the Wake and Sacrament. And it's Sacrament that's one of my all-time favourite albums. Favourite tracks of this album are Nevermore, Omens, Ditch and September Song. So yeah, coming in at number 3 I have Lamb of God, Omens. Okay, so coming in at number 2, the runner-up for my top 40 albums of 2022, I have a Scottish one-man band. He categorises himself as Caledonian metal, and it's got elements of black metal, death metal and a bit of folk and pagan metal in there as well. Released way back in June via Seasons of Mist, I have Saor, Origins. Now Saor is the Scots Gaelic word for free, and this album in particular is about the Picts, or the Pictish people. And I can't stress enough how absolutely beautiful this record is. It is so brutal, it is so heavy, but it's so atmospheric at the same time. The only way I can really describe it is a sprawling soundscape. It's got heavy guitars, it's got absolutely mad solos. Favourite tracks off this album? I love absolutely every single track off this album. Each one of them are absolutely stunning, but one in particular that really stood out for me was Call of the Carnix. Now the Carnix was an ancient brass windpipe that was used in war to either incite encouragement or to scare off the enemy. And you can actually hear it in the song, and it just adds such an atmospheric element. So yeah, coming in at number 2 I have Saor, Origins. So coming in at number 1 and my favourite album of 2022 is a symphonic, atmospheric, melodic death metal band from Greece. And no word of a lie, when I first heard this album, I had a moment. I had to sit on the floor, and it just got better and better with each track. It's been quite a long time since an album has had that much of an impact on me, to the point where I literally had to stop what I was doing and sit on the floor because I just couldn't handle it. It just grabbed my attention and held me by the jugular until it was finished. And then I listened to it again straight afterwards to process exactly what it was that I'd heard. So way back in May, via Nuclear Blast Records, I have Septicflesh, Modern Primitive. There is not one track off this album that I don't love. Every single track on this record is an absolute banger. It has its neoclassical elements. It's theatrical, it's catchy, it's stomping, but it's really quite dark and foreboding at the same time. A Desert Throne, The Collector, Hierophant, Neuromancer, Coming Storm, I could just list every single track off the album, but honestly, this record is definitely in my daily cycle, and it will be in my daily cycle for a long time yet because it had such an impact on me. It was unbelievable. So yep, number 1, my favourite album of 2022 is Septicflesh, Modern Primitive. And that's it for my top 40 albums of 2022. Now, no doubt there are loads of albums that I've missed that I haven't listened to yet that could have made it into this list but haven't because I never got round to them. What I will be doing is I will be posting another video after this one just going through the records that I missed that I absolutely love from 2022. And all of my planned new content I'll be starting in January 2023. So in 2023 I will be taking a deep dive into various different tracks that have history or mythology based themes. I'll be doing musician bios, I'll be doing weekly new music recommendations, I'll be doing the odd gig vlog, and on occasion when I'm out and about exploring the Scottish countryside I'll be taking you along with me on vlogs too. That's my top 40 albums of the year. Comment down below if there's any albums on this list that you've not listened to and let me know what you think. Like, subscribe, comment, share my content. Your support is very much appreciated, and I'll see you guys in the next video.